this. I don't want to bring up fear for yourselves. What I would like to achieve by that is to allow our mind to acknowledge that there are things that are out of our control. And that is the case. For example, and sorry for picking on that now, but for example, in a balance, when, let's say, it's my left knee that usually plays up. If I start to move in a balance here, that would trigger in my mind, oh, it's not quite fear, but it's quite close to fear of something that I don't know if it's going to work or it's not going to work. And if that knee was really bad today, I would likely hold on. Or as I am demonstrating a mind control, I wouldn't do that side at all. So kind of learning to work with what is the like as we approach sometimes a posture that we so enjoy and we almost jump into it. And then we might get scared a bit about having gone too far. And the same applies to the dislikes. So to begin with, I suggest to start seated today. Do make sure that you've got a blanket nearby on this very cold morning. And to begin our practice in a seated position, if you would like to grab either a block to sit on, which is my preferred height, or you can choose a cushion or something else. And as usual, the most important about this practice is one single person, that is you. And I invite you to take really good care of yourself. So move around a little bit once you've found your seat. If you feel you're very cold already, don't be distracted by the temperature. Grab a blanket around you for a moment. Allowing yourself to arise within your seat as you become really tall. Noticing that there might be a force going on. If you're just pulling your spine long, noticing what's happening. Can you feel areas of tension? If you do, start moving a little bit within this seat. And if that area of tension is somewhere around your hips and lower back, you might want to move the area a bit forward and back so that the pelvis kind of finds a way to settle. If it is in your back or in the shoulders, somewhere, do the same there, just moving a bit and then finding a place of more ease. If this seated posture that I have attempted here isn't suitable for you, you will change that too. And you can always sit differently. Now, once you're there within your seat, let's keep it quite simple for now. Let's close the eyes. Feeling the foundation of this pose, such as even the prop underneath that then you're sitting on. Your legs. Then follow up the whole spine. Get a sense of lift through the crown of the head. A gentle heaviness for the shoulders so they can relax downwards rather than upwards. A really nasty tendency we have when it's cold to pull the shoulders up. So despite the temperature, let the shoulders soften downwards. And feel that very gentle touch of your hands somewhere against the body where they're resting. Now you can simply choose to breathe deeply, or you can choose to breathe deeply while moving your arms. Very simple. On the inhalation, reaching the arms out and up. And on the exhalation, we will turn the palms outwards and releasing the arms back down by the sides. So palms turned upwards for the in-breath to lift the arms out and up. Palms turning outwards before the exhalation, so to release the arms with the palms facing downwards. Let's do that a few times. We breathe in, palms facing up, the arms are lifting out to the sides and towards the ceiling, maybe palms touching. Then turn the palms the other way and the breath out to lower them back down by the sides. Now that you know what we're doing here, I will ask you to continue that in your own pace. So no need to follow my pace. You're taking a deep breath in to lift and a slow breath out to release. Noticing the things that occur during these movements and the breath. That could be sensations in the shoulders, the arms becoming a bit heavier, and just working through all of this. Try not to rush, aim to breathe in and out of your nose. And with your next breath in, if that is suitable, and only then, pause once the arms are fully lifted. There's no need to touch the palms, only if that feels right. And pause for as long as is possible to hold your breath. Then turn the palms and breathe out just as slowly or even more slowly than we did before. And we'll repeat that a few times. You can always leave the arms out of this equation if they're getting tired or your shoulders are achy. We're holding the breath now in between once the lungs are filled, and then we're emptying the lungs again, the arms releasing once more by the sides. So please keep going with that for another 3 rounds. And at the end of your 3rd round, I'm asking you to pause entirely and observe yourself. The arms moving through an unknown space around us. The holding of the breath was merely an exploration of our ability to do so, with no idea for how long this is even possible. Allow yourself to feel quite grounded now in your seat and invite a little bit of stillness into this seat. This idea of working with our fears comes from a card of the chakra deck, which is mysticism. On this card is a woman named Aubergine. The subtitle of this card is "You Are Not to Know." A woman named Aubergine calls on the telephone to confirm that she will be with us tonight. Yet no woman named Aubergine has been invited. Of the 4 invited, 2 are wed and 2 are unknown to each other, a woman and a man. Surely, if this mysterious woman were the guest of the man, she would have made it known. A woman approaches, the woman named Aubergine, the woman who will be with us tonight. An inspiration comes along with this little story. It is wise to be the observer. Do not respond until you are certain. The unknown is not easy, but it is no longer necessary to fear. You could ask yourself, am I ignoring my intuition? What I suspect is probably true. I must breathe. We will hopefully have time at the end to add a little meditation to this inquiry. And there's no obligation to take this into your day, but maybe into your practice. If you've been sitting in a certain way, let's change the leg in front. Then take a breath in to reach your arms out and up one more time. And then lowering just the right arm down as we're bending carefully over to the right. Think about reach first. Lean into the hand, find a reach to the fingertips while you're grounding through the sit bones on your left side. Take a deep breath in to just create this length. And then start to bend the elbow you're leaning towards and deepen your side bend. Keep the top shoulder open rather than rolling it in. Your gaze can be anywhere, up, down, or forward. And really just acknowledging how the neck is feeling in this shape. Have your next exhalation to go yet another bit deeper if there's still more availability. And you could always lean down onto the forearm if that's how far you can go. We will, however, release that very gently, rolling the shoulder, the arm in front of us and using the hand on the ground to sit back upright. Pausing here briefly to acknowledge that there's a difference between the 2 sides. And whatever we are inviting into our practice is unknown. So is how this feels on the other side. Let's lift the arms out and up again, a familiar movement. And then lowering your left hand down as you slightly bend to the left at first. Just a gentle extension to begin with. Grounding through the sit bones and reaching up into the fingertips for a little bit more length. Then maybe going a bit deeper as your next breathing out. Pause here for a bit. Explore, how does this side feel? What feels familiar? What is new? The moment we identify something new, it becomes familiar. So let's exhale again and see if we can go a bit further. Your gaze wherever that feels right in your neck. And then let's release that gently as well. Shoulder, arm, rolling all the way forward in front as we're lifting up to sitting. I will encourage you now to remove anything that you might have underneath your body, just taking that out and coming onto your hands and your knees. Knees, as usual, are separate, so about hip distance apart, and the hands are separate too, about shoulder distance apart. My wrists are always slightly forward from underneath the shoulders, so that my spine is more easily in a neutral position. I would love you to feel this position, to spread your hands out and to ground down through the whole hand. Now, to do so, maybe we're learning that as we step up onto the fingertips of the right hand, just a tiny little movement, and then spreading the fingers out as we're sliding the palm down onto the mat. If I do that, I feel a sense of the palm of the hand sucking the mat up and in. And we'll do that on the other side as well. Come to the fingertips and then spread the fingers out just as wide as you can, sliding them onto your mat. And maybe we've got that suction happening in both palms of the hand. So we reach that in this way, but also if we engage the hands when we stand on them. It's a very useful technique for protection of the wrists as well as the strength in the upper back. From this point, hold this suction. Take a breath in, soften your elbows, lift your tail and gaze. And as you're breathing out, we're straightening the arms and rounding through the spine, lowering the head. Now, let's do that in a more controlled way. We will always start now with the tailbone, and we're keeping the head, in this case, looking up, and then the last thing that comes down is the head when we're rounding. We're keeping the head low, and as you're breathing in, the tailbone begins to rise, the belly begins to drop. We're starting to open the front body. And then again, tuck the tailbone. I'm still looking forward here until I can't do so anymore, and then the head comes in. Stay with this slow spinal movement and the grounding of your hands. The elbows can soften on the in-breath as you're looking up, but they will straighten again on the out-breath as you're rounding your back. When you completed your next round, we will increase the range of this movement a little. So you will still inhale to look up, but now as you're breathing out, you're rounding and moving back towards the heels. We will breathe in to lift the tail and the gaze. And we will breathe out to round our tailbone down and the rest of the body then into a child's pose. Let's do that again. Inhaling, lifting tail gaze from all fours, and then drawing the tailbone back towards the heels on the exhalation. Go for one more in this way. And then arriving in a simple all-four stance. Take a moment to just consider how your hands are placed now. There's a likelihood that you've come back to an old pattern of leaning into the wrists. See if you can get that sensation of sucking into the palms of the hands again. Now we will extend our right leg out, keeping the toes tucked under on the floor and pushing a little bit back into the heel of this foot. Then let's ground that same heel down onto the floor and take a breath in to lift the right arm. So we're in a kneeling side plank. There's no need to extend the side plank, but if you feel very strong today, you can remove the knee from the ground and extend the lower leg too. Get an openness now and look over to your side. And if that works for you, let's swing the arm down in front and then extend the arm over the head. Here is a potential for a first core movement. Finding stability to lift the right leg. And then a breath out as we're drawing our elbow and knee together. On the in-breath, extending, and you can tap your toes to the ground. So no need to balance that out on the knee. As you exhale, squeeze it in. So on an in-breath, are we after length and extension in the right side? And on the out-breath, do we do the opposite, crunching in? Let's go for a few more. Inhaling to extend. Exhaling to pull it in. Inhale, extending. Exhale, curl it in. You have troubles with any of these movements, do a bit less. And maybe it is your elbow that's drawing in if the balance is a bit challenged. So try and modify what doesn't quite sit right with you. This is our last one. We're extending that again. Then we bring the hand down. Keep the toes tucked under for a moment and push back out into the heel. Then release the knee to the mat and sit back into an extended child's pose. Now, if you didn't place your left hand deliberately using the whole palm, and I will include myself here, the wrist might be hurting, and I will ask you to move that hand a little bit, finding your release. Then returning onto all fours as you breathe in. And we will extend the left leg back. Again, the toes will be tucked under and we're pushing out and back through the heel. Now here we can remind ourselves about the stands on our hands. Maybe it lasts. We will lower the heel of the left foot to the ground. And we will take the breath in to lift the left arm. So we're opening our body sideways. The knee on the floor, we can swing that foot a little bit back for more stability. And if you really can't help yourself, you can do this from a full side plank. To explore that more, you could swing your arm down in front of your body and extend the arm over the head. To add our core movement, breathe out, drawing elbow and knee together, or as I explained earlier, just the elbow. Inhale to extend the body. Exhaling and pulling back in. Now find your variations. Maybe the toes are tapping to the ground and the leg keeps moving. Or maybe the toes stay on the ground and it's your elbow just tucking into the side waist. You will get strength from this no matter which variation you're choosing. We'll have one more after this one. We will then extend again, land the toes to the ground, land the hand to the ground, keeping the toes tucked under, pressing back out through the heel. Then land both knees down and extending into a child's pose. I will ask you now to lower the forearms down onto the floor and to slide along your mat so you can land down on the front of your body. I will also ask you to extend your arms forward. Now, everything I instruct has variations, So if this is not working for you, you can keep your hands or arms by your sides. On the next in-breath, let's push down into both hands, lift one leg, and breathe out to lower again. We'll start quite easy. Other leg is lifting. Press down into the hands, lift your leg, head and chest, and then release that again. Now it's entirely up to you to stay on both hands or to press down in one, lift the opposite to your leg, and then release that again. So I'm lifting my right leg, my left arm, and I'm pushing into the right hand, and then releasing again. I will encourage you to continue the cross pattern or staying with the one leg if that is what you do. So lifting up on the in-breath and lowering down on the out-breath. Nothing else to do quite yet. As we're bringing a bit of strength into our back, and there's a lot of core muscles activating and releasing through this movement as well. And I would ask you now to pause for a moment, just to bend your elbows, to turn your favorite ear onto the floor, to touch your big toes, let the heels roll out, and maybe have a little wiggle into the pelvis. And then aligning your feet back in line with the legs and the hips. Turning your head back to center and extending the arms again. If whatever you've done until now was strong enough, please repeat. Otherwise, we'll go into a hold. We're lifting for that on the in-breath, the left leg, the right arm, the head and the chest, and the grounding now actively through the left hand and the top of the right foot. And just holding here and breathing. Feeling a big reach across the body while you're keeping your shoulders in the sockets. So we might reach forward into the fingers and back to the toes, but we're not stretching out of the shoulder here. A little smile is timely now. And then releasing this side down. We come to the other. So while you're breathing in, if you're with me in the full expression, we're lifting the left arm, the right leg. We're grounding down to the right hand and the top of the left foot. So we've got the foundation engaged, the knee might be lifted. We're reaching from our toes to the fingers on the opposite side. All that while we're keeping our left shoulder in the socket. Now you will hold here, breathe. Nothing else to do. Just being with whatever comes up. And then releasing this side too. If you were really challenged with just one side lifting, please repeat that. Otherwise, and alternate it. And otherwise, lifting now on both ends. Lifting the legs and lifting the arms. It is entirely up to you if this is even possible for you. If it isn't, changing sides now. Otherwise, if you have both lifted, still holding, trying to breathe, even though that is restricted. And then releasing the posture again as you slide your elbows to bend and turn the other ear down onto the mat. Big toes could touch again, heels might roll out, and you could allow a bit of a wiggle into the pelvis. Just noticing what you're feeling and how this now might affect your body. We won't get very far off the mat quite yet, so let's slide the hands by the sides of the ribs for a moment. Pushing more into the left one as we're rolling over onto our right side. I would ask you, if that is possible, to plant your forearm down underneath and do something that's very similar to a all four stance, taking the elbow just a fraction out from underneath the shoulder. This is actually for more stability rather than less. You can ground the palm of the hand down and try and remember not to rest too much against that shoulder. So keeping a lift here, bending both of your knees from there, touching the knees and the feet together, one on top of the other. Your left hand goes here into the side of the waist, and the same there, the shoulders shall be relaxed. Now we will keep our feet grounded and just opening the knee and then closing the knee again. Now your task here is to feel with the hand on the waist or the hip that there's very little movement in the hip, and it's just the knee that is opening and then closing. Stay with that. And one more here. And then keep your knees touching and even on the floor. And start to lift both feet and ankles off the ground. Then lower them again. Feel into your pelvis. Use your inner strength to pull the feet up and lower them again. Up and lower. Now we've got that. We will lift again, holding lifted, opening the knee up, closing the knee, releasing the feet down. We will lift the feet, open the knee, close the knee, release the feet. Lift the feet, open the knee, close the knee, release the feet. Brief pause, checking in with your foundation, the forearm, the shoulder, maybe creating a bit of a lift. We'll add one last movement to this, lifting your feet, opening the knees, and then keep the leg in this angle and extend out through the leg. Bend the knee and touch your feet. Bring your knees together. Release the feet down. Lift your feet. Open your knees. Hold in this angle and try and extend the leg. Bend the knee to touch your feet. Bring your knees back together. Release the feet. Only one more, I promise. Lift your feet up. Open the knees. Your hand is controlling the movement, extending the leg or observing it, let's say. Bend the knee, touch your feet. Lower the knee down, lower your feet down, and then slide the legs out long. Slide your lower arm out long, and maybe just resting onto your upper arm. If you like, you can bend the elbow and build a bit of a cushion for the head. This is a side-lying Buddha pose. If you want more extension because the side has been strengthening, you can take your upper arm, that's the left one, all the way over the head. And you might even get a sense of a stretch into the body as you reach from your toes to your left hand fingers. We will then take our hand back down by the side and roll again onto the front of the body. Now I will shuffle myself around because we're changing sides. Rolling over onto your left side and placing your left forearm down. Bending the knees, so we've got our setup, knees and feet are stacked one on top of the other. The elbow is slightly out from underneath the left shoulder, and we're creating a lift from that forearm and the shoulder. The right hand here can go to the side waist or onto the hip, whichever feels better for you to be able to control or feel to have control. Let's put it that way. We'll begin again very simple. We're opening the right knee and then we're closing it again. So your main task here is to feel with your hand to have as little movement in the pelvis as is possible. We're opening a knee and we're closing it again. Do that twice more. And then we'll pause it. We will lift both feet and ankles off the ground and we release them again. Lifting feet and ankles and release them again. Just notice how the pelvis is slightly rolling here. Nothing we can avoid, but something we can observe. Now with the next lift of your feet and ankles, we're also keeping them lifted to open the knee. Then touch the knees together again and release the feet back down. So we're lifting our feet, opening the knees, closing the knees, and releasing the feet back down. One more like this. Lift your feet, open your knees, close the knees, release the feet. Are you as lazy as I am? Have you sunk down towards your shoulder? Try and create your strength there again. And we'll do an extension. We're lifting the feet, opening the knees. Hold your hand on the hip and carefully try and extend the leg without moving anything else but the knee and the lower leg. As we bend again, we're touching the feet, then the knees together, and then the feet to the ground. 2 more rounds. Lift your feet, open your knees, extend into the leg without changing the angle, bend into the knee, touch your feet, bring the knees together, release your feet. So strong in your foundation. Last round. Lift the feet, open your knees, extend the top leg, bend the knee, touch the feet, bring your knees together, release the feet, and now extend your legs out. Slide your arm out from underneath. You can bend the elbow there, building a cushion for the head. A side-lying Buddha pose could stay supported with a hand in front, or you can extend your arm over your head. Maybe even getting a sense of length from the toes up to the fingertips. To release this, I will ask you to roll again onto the front of your body. Bring your hands down by your sides, coming up onto all fours. This might be a good idea now, latest, to take your socks off, as I'll ask you to tuck the toes under and come into a downward facing dog, and just extending here in this pose. So we've done a lot of small movements and static things. Let's walk out a bit through the legs. Get a bit of movement into your body, whether that's just your legs or includes your arms, or maybe even includes more parts of the body. And from that place, then walking your feet forward to the top end of your mat. A half lift here, lengthening forward, and a breath out to fold. Stay here to inhale, and then activate the lower belly muscles and breathe out to slowly curl up into standing. Now, we haven't moved that much, and yet we're feeling a little bit warmer. So, as requested, Let's try and balance. As I said before, if balance is a trigger for your mind, it might go into a subtle variation of fear. So please try and hold on if that is the case. Otherwise, we will stand on both of our feet. To breathe in, we're lifting the arms up and the right knee. And to breathe out, we will bring the hands to the heart and extend the leg back for a warrior 3. Now, in this warrior 3, the leg is fully active. And if I was to use a piece of furniture, I would hold on here. I would extend back into the heel so that the hip and the toes are facing down. And if that was my little helper here, I would try and become lighter in the fingertips and then maybe even bring the hands to touch. Let's step the foot back down. Take a breath to lift the arms and have a sigh to drop them, to have a bounce into the knees and to loosen up the body. Even if you don't have a challenge with the balance, you might want to play today with a bit of support. Up to you. Let's do the same on the other side. Inhaling, lifting the knee and the arms. And hands to the heart as we're extending forwards and backward at the same time. Once more, the opportunity of taking a little hold on a piece of furniture. You might extend back out to the heel, but making sure that the back leg is really active, aiding you with your balance. And if you're holding onto something, maybe your task here is just to occasionally release a bit of weight from your fingers. But maybe over time, your body is understanding and you could touch the hands together at the heart. Maybe. Let's land the feet again. Take a breath in, lifting the arms, and have a sigh to release that. I would love to practice another variation now of the chair pose. We will start on both of our feet, but we might transition, and that is only up to you to decide. So step the feet about hip distance for this variation. Lift the arms out in front. Palms can face up or down. Feel again into the shoulders, what's right, and then bend at your knees and at your hips and sink into a chair pose. The chair pose itself has an element of core strength in it if done correctly. So we will lean over the soles of the feet quite evenly, allowing the sit bones to be open and the lower abdominals to draw inwards. And that is there for you to stabilize. This is how we're becoming stronger. We will always have a light glute activation despite the sit bones being open. But just explore for a moment, what would it feel like, or what changes if you let a little bit go of the belly muscles and only squeeze the buttocks? Noticing that likely the back begins to round. That's something we want to avoid. So hence the lower belly is on. As you might shift the weight now over to your left foot, changing nothing but placing your ankle onto the thigh. Only an option, nothing you have to do. You could play around with the shifting of the weight. No need to take it to that full extension. I know this is getting a little bit strong. Let's step the foot back down. Find your balance on both of your feet again. Remind yourself of open sit bones, strong core muscles. And then either just shifting the weight towards the right foot, or if you can, keep that bend in the knee, but lift your ankle to the thigh. Only options, even if the foot came a little bit off the ground, you would be balancing here as well. Let's land the foot again. We're still in our chair pose. Now let's push down into the feet and take a big extension as you breathe in, opening through the front body. And a sigh that takes you down into a forward bend on your elbow. Let's lift up halfway, finding length in your spine. And then breathing out to fold completely. Let's bring our knees back down onto the mat and roll ourselves down onto our backs. So to do so, I highly recommend to have your socks by the mat, but not on your feet quite yet. Jumpers are fine. We need the grip on the feet. Let's lengthen the legs out, inhaling to sit upright. Flex your feet, lift your arms, and then exhaling slowly, rounding your back to a little bit backwards. Lengthen your spine, draw your shoulders in, inhale. Then round the back, go a little bit lower. Inhale, lengthen the spine, shoulders in. Exhale, round the back and go a bit lower. You could be lying down by now. Inhale, extending the spine. Exhale, rounding a little bit lower. Inhale for the legs. Exhale, go a bit lower. Last one here. Inhale. And exhale, lowering all the way down onto the ground. Let the arms release, the body relax. If you would like to use your cushion or your block for a short pause in a moment, you can have that close by. Otherwise, just stepping your feet up towards the buttocks and landing the feet down. So we've got about hip distance, feet and knees, and arms are by the sides in a preparation for a bridge movement. This will also likely strengthen your core, so being aware that we need the buttocks muscles. I will ask you here to squeeze them as you breathe in to lift the hips and the arms extending over the head. And when breathing out, rolling down and arms releasing by the sides. It's simple. We're breathing in, squeezing the buttocks, lifting to bridge and arms extending over the head. And we're exhaling to roll down and the arms releasing by the sides. Going for 3 more in your own pace. No need to rush. You can go as slow as you like. And then this last one, once you've lifted your arms up, keep your hips up. And then as you're breathing out, just releasing the arms down. I will invite you now to take your block or cushion, pop that underneath and lower, if it's a cushion, your whole buttocks down. If it's a block, lowering the sacrum down onto the block. You could simply stay here, relax your arms, or if you prefer a light inversion, you might extend the legs up towards the ceiling. Still, arms relaxed. We've got that little support, if you've chosen it, underneath that allows us to have actually less effort with the lift of the legs, ideally. You might choose to close the eyes for a moment. And just allow yourself to return your awareness completely back inside. This is a very supported inversion. Yet moving our bodies upside down can also be a trigger of fear. Just making yourself aware of what is going on within. It could be as simple as that you are observing the flow downwards. Let's bend the knees towards the chest and step the feet back down onto the mat. Squeezing the buttocks once more, just lifting the hips enough to take the support out from underneath, and then lower the hips back down. As this was a back bend, I would ask you to bring your knees over your chest. Take one hand to each kneecap. And then breathe in to extend your arms so the knees are moving away. And breathing out to draw them in. Inhaling, moving the knees away. And exhaling to draw the knees back in. I invite you for a few more. Feeling the rocking sensation across the back. And after the next one, might you choose to come into Shavasana. So that could mean that you're now reaching for your socks to put them back on. But maybe the blanket is trendy today too. Taking yourselves back into a resting pose. If it is possible, let the arms fall away from the body. Legs can be supported or out long. Noticing any last movement that is necessary for yourself to find stillness. And that could be just a rolling of the head, a movement here and there. But then finding yourself in the stillness that Shavasana has to offer. Installing a deeper knowing in your mind that in this space on your mat within Shavasana, you are safe. You can either choose to stay with the safety and observe your breath, or you could engage in a short meditation while you're lying there. If you're going with the meditation, see yourself in a crystal clear pool. As you wade in the water, a whirlpool swirls towards you and catches you. Aubergine is afraid you would leave if you weren't captive. Assure her that you will stay if she sets you free. She doesn't believe you. You have met your own fear. Notice what is real, even if you have to open your eyes with a steady gaze. And what is imagined. If you open the eyes, softly close them again. And inquire what is no longer necessary for you. Within this posture of letting go, allow yourself to release what is no longer necessary, including fears. Maybe this short meditation brought to your mind an intention. Maybe it didn't, and that's perfectly fine. If you developed an intention, repeat that mentally to yourself 3 times. Then start to deepen your breathing, moving, stretching if that is right for yourself, before returning the body to an upright seated position. To round up our practice, we will breathe in and lift the arms up all the way over the head, and we're pausing here, keeping the air, the energy within. And then draw your hands down to the heart as you're breathing out. Allow a subtle bow of the head, looking into this heart space, knowing that there are fears that are reasonable and there to protect us, but that oftentimes the fear is more created in the mind. And it is up on us to focus onto our inner wisdom that guides us through these situations. To connect to our inner wisdom and then to extend to each other. Namaste. I thank you very much for joining me this morning. I will come up to the screen just to show you the card. That's our mysterious visitor.